You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them! Bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness!
What's going on, guys? Rogue TCG here. We're bringing you another deck profile. This is going to be an in-person deck profile. This deck is going to be Phantom Knights. This deck is a lot of fun. This is more like a rogue for fun deck just because it can't really produce the same types of interaction that the current meta decks can, where they're very varied. However, this deck can stand its own, and it does have some feet to walk on, so you can take some W's here and there to people who don't really know what you're trying to do. But that's another yapping. Time to get to the deck profile. The deck is going to be 43 cards. There are 3 very easy cuts where you can just make it 40. I just want to play a little bit more hand traps while maintaining the main deck. But let's start off with triple Phantom Knights of Torn Scales. On an ignition effect, you can discard a card while this is on the field. Send a Phantom Knights card from your deck to the grave except for itself. And if this card is in your grave and you banish a Phantom Knight card, you can special summon this card to your field, but banish it when it leaves the field. Then we have 3 Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. This card says if you control a Phantom Knight's monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can only do it once per turn. And you can banish it from your grave to add a Phantom Knight spell trap. Very good. We want to always be seeing it because it is our main extender. It just says, just go ahead. Just get another body on board and then trigger your Torn Scales while you're at it in the grave. It even gives you the discard fodder for the Torn Scales in the spell or trap. We are playing 1 Ancient Cloak. We're keeping the Phantom Knights a little bit tight just so we can compete with the meta via hand traps and board breakers. So we're playing the 1 Ancient Cloak. When it's in attack position on the board, you can target a dark on the field, change it to defense, and until the end of the next turn, it gains 800 attack and defense. And you can banish it when it's in the graveyard to add the Phantom Knights card from your deck to your hand. That isn't just including every single one of the monsters, but it is including one specific trap. Then we have the 1 Phantom Knights of Stained Greaves. If a Phantom Knight special summon while this is in your hand, you can special summon it, and then you can choose to modulate both this card and the card that you special summons levels to 4. Or no, I apologize, just itself, and then when it's in the grave, you can banish it to special a Phantom Knight from your hand and then modulate that card to level 4. Then we have 1 Phantom Knights of Ragged Gloves. It has an effect when it's on a monster as an Xyz material. It gains 1,000 attack when it's summoned, and that's permanent boost. And you can banish this from your grave to send a Phantom Knights card from your deck to the grave. It's just a little bit of a bridge. You can send it when you don't want to quite activate a banish effect yet, in case of Torn Scale. Then that's gonna be it for our Phantom Knights. A nice small count for those because we are playing a little bit more of a flexible game. We have triple tour guide from the underworld. We are not running the adventure package. The adventure package does lose to some things such as ogre, which we do not lose to. So we're running triple tour guide. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon a level 3 fiend from your hand or deck, but negate its effects, and it can't be used as synchro. Good thing we're not synchroing. Great thing, it negates its effects. And we're running 3 because we do want to see it, and there is a way that we can stop this from getting ashed fairly easily, and we are running triple of it. Our 2 targets for tour guide is Seer and Graph. Graph, when sent to the graveyard by any means, special summons a Burning Abyss from your deck, and Seer, when sent to grave, can special summon a Burning Abyss from your grave. And they can both special summon themselves to your field if you control no spell or traps, but if they're the only, if there's other cards on the board other than Burning Abysses, they will destroy themselves, but Tour Guide negates their effects, so that is irrelevant. We are running the card that I mentioned that helps us chain block our Tour Guide, triple Kagemucha Knight. This is also very good if we just normal summon any level 3. For example, our next card coming up. It basically makes it so we can access our entire engine off of any 2 level 3s, and if we have this in hand, it just makes it even easier. Now on to our hand traps. We are running triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. It is a level 3. You kind of have to be running it. The fact that they're level 3s means that even normal summon Ash, special summon Kagamucha can get you somewhere, at least provide some sort of interaction and meaningful advantage. We are running one Ghost Bell in Haunted Mansion. It's another level 3, and it can affect us beneficially if our opponents are main decking the Bestials, because it can prevent them. We are running one Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. It is just generally kind of an okay card. Main thing we're running it is a level 3, but it's also a Psychic, which is going to go very well with our Psychic Wielder. Another note is Ghost Ogre does actually maintain its effects on the board as well, so you can't actually just special on your opponent's turn with a card that I'm going to mention momentarily to provide some sort of interaction piece. But we're running both of these in terms for one other card in the deck, or rather two other cards. We are running one Tearlament Sheeran. It is a one of in the deck because we can only run one of it. It is a level 4, but we do have level 4s we can make, and Rusty Bardiche only requires dark monsters to make, which Sheeran does fulfill the requirements of. It helps us get our cards that we want engrave in the grave, such as Volar Phantom Knights, and it does mill cards where we can also mill potential Phantom Knights and Phantom Knight trap cards. It does let us combo a little bit more under the radar without having to use our normal summon, which is very powerful because that used to be the hard choke point of the deck. So we were playing the one Sheeran. We were playing one Jackalope and one Tsuchinoko. They are level 3s that we can special summon from our hand, and in terms of Jackalope from our deck. And then the card that I was mentioning in terms of Ghost Ogre and Psychic Wielder, we are running 2 emergency teleports. You should always start your turn off with emergency teleport if you can. It is very good at baiting specifically Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring because now that a lot of decks are a little bit frightful of E-Tele due to Punk and the kind of awareness that they have of Punk and the racing archetype. I forgot what it was called. So they might actually Ash this, which is very good for you because that's one last interaction piece that they could have for your Rusty Bardiche. We're playing one Reinforcement of the Army to get all of our Phantom Knights because they are warriors. We're playing Phantom Knights Rank Up Magic Force because we are playing Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon. We are playing the one Called By to avoid hand traps. We're playing Foolish Burial because we are a graveyard deck. And then on to our interaction pieces. We are playing triple Forbidden Droplet in the main deck. Arise Heart is no more. Sure, people are making Herald with Sprite. But Droplet is just an insane card. It lets us send our cards from hand, field to the grave, our extra materials. We do want to already be sending our Phantom Knights to field, from hand or field to grave. So this also isn't necessarily a disadvantageous thing, just discarding our whole hand if we're going second, because we can rebuild and just kill our opponents right there on the spot if they have a Link monster. Droplet is just an insane card in this deck, and because we're running spells, traps, and monsters, we can basically make it non-respondable by anything, which is very nice. And onto our Phantom Knight trap cards. We're running one Shade Brigandine. We can summon this if the turn it was set if we have no traps in our graveyard. It is also the Phantom Knights card, so we can search it off of Ancient Cloak. So if we've used all our free extra summons and we don't have a trap engraved, we can always grab this to get one more summon of a level 4 monster. We're running triple Phantom Knights Fogblade. This is just a Fiendish Chain, but also Recursion, and it's very searchable. All our Phantom Knight traps, including this and the next one, have the effect where you can banish them from your grave at instant speed to bring a Phantom Knight from your grave back to the field, but it's banished when it leaves the field. It's good for putting up blockers. It's good for triggering Torn Scales on your opponent's end phase. It basically prevents your opponents from beneficially linking off cards that it's attached to, because this gets put in your grave and they're giving you another resource back. So we are running 3 of it because we want to open it, we want to search it, we want to set it. We're running one Phantom Knight's Wink. This is a card that I like running just because it's another version of Fogblade in the graveyard, because Fogblade is a hard once per turn in the grave. But if we add Wing, we do get 2 of them if we want to go 2 on our turn. And we just have one extra recursion piece in the deck for our grave. Has the on-field effect where you can target a face-up monster on the field. It gains 500 attack, and also the first time that target would be destroyed by battle or card effect this turn, it is not destroyed. It's good protection for our boss monsters during our opponent's turns in terms of Lightning Storm, because we do typically put them in attack position. And then lastly, the 3 cards that you can cut, but I'm choosing not to, is Triple Infinite Impermanence. It's just another hand trap. It's a trap card. It has a little bit of a non-synergy in terms of Shade Brigandine. If we do hand trap them, we cannot activate Shade Brigandine, but that is a risk I'm willing to take in order to have Baylor, but not. That's going to be it for the main deck. Now on to the extra deck. Typically, Phantom Knight extra decks are somewhat standard. However, different types of variants tend to run different extra deck cards, but those cards tend to be standard amongst those variants. We are running 1 Troubadour. We're not running any Link 1s in this deck. We're running 1 Dark, the Dark Charmer Gloomy. If we are going second and we end up in the position where we only have 2 monsters on the board, including a Dark, and our opponents do have a Dark in the grave, we can make Rusty Bardiche off of this. However, this is a card that you can't cut for something else because it is not necessarily synergistic with the main core focus of our deck, even though it is a Dark. We are running the 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. This card is insane. You want to try and make sure this resolves at all cost. However, if your hand's like absolutely balls to the walls insane, typically this can be a source of bait because your opponent cannot let this resolve. If they let this resolve, the only hand trap that they really would be having would be Nibiru or maybe the Div Incarnate card. But Rusty Bardiche is quite powerful. During the main phase, Ignition, you can send a Phantom Knight's monster from your deck to your grave, then set a Phantom Knight spell or trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. So it lets you +2 immediately off of its effect activation, and typically you can go even more plus off of that. And then if a Dark Xyz monster is summoned to a zone it points to, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. That isn't just going to be your opponent's cards. You can target and destroy your own cards. You can target your opponent's cards that have Fogblade on it in order to get Fogblade in the grave. Then we have 1 Nightmare Unicorn. We make this off of IP. We make this when we go second. It's a very powerful card just to remove opponent's cards without necessarily destroying them. That's going to be it for our Link monster. No access code here, no Appaloosa, no Underworld Goddess, although that would be the card that I would put in case of Dark leaving the deck. We have Dark Rebellion XYZ and Dark Requiem XYZ. We make this using our rank up magic right over here. Dark Rebellion XYZ has an effect that is very, very underwhelming. It is not necessarily a good card at all. However, the thing that we can rank it up into is a very powerful card, even in this day and age, even though it was printed so long ago. Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon just needs 2 level 4 monsters. Detach the 2 Xyz materials from this card. Target a face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack become half its current attack, and if it does, this card gains that lost attack. It just gains attack. Not saying this doesn't come up ever, but typically speaking, Requiem is better because it does have a better version of that effect. Requiem needs 3 level 5s. It only gains these next 2 effects if it has this card as material, so we do need to rank it up. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to that monster's original attack, so it is just a better version of Dark Rebellion, so you don't really want to be activating this unless you don't have access to this card, in which case activate this all you want, but there's a better rank 4 you can go into. And then it has the effect, which is the main one that you're going to be using. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, detach a material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can special summon 1 Xyz monster from your graveyard. So it's a negate and a destroy, and then it also does recur a monster from your grave, which could be to a Rusty Bardiche Link zone in order to get another piece of interaction. One note is this card is not once per turn. You can get 3 negates. As long as the last thing you detach is a Dark Rebellion XYZ Dragon, you can get 3 negates off of this and bring back 3 monsters if you do have 3 of them in the grave. As well as, this isn't once per chain. So if your opponent has an Appaloosa or anything, you can just immediately do it again to prevent them from preventing you from doing your thing. So there are those cards. Let's put this back. We're running number F0 Utopic Future to have some flexibility in our end boards. Because we have Utopic Future, we are running Utopic Draco Future. Utopic Future needs 2 monsters that aren't number monsters with the same rank to make, and you send the materials underneath of those cards to the graveyard, which does override the Phantom Knights banishing themselves, and that goes for all detaching effects. And then you can immediately rank it up into Utopic Draco Future using Draco Future's replacement effect. This says, cannot be destroyed by battle or card effect. Once per turn, your opponent activates a monster negate effect, quick effect, detach a material, negate the activation, and if it's on board, you get to take control of it. So this is functionally a different version of Requiem. It's a different piece of interaction because you do permanently get rid of that card. And if you make this with IP, you can use IP to link their card off to make the unicorn instead of having to use one of your own. And it's a very sticky card. Some decks just do not have a clean way to out it. Now for our OTK tool, we have our Raider's Knight, which needs 2 level 4 dark monsters. And it's always treated as a Phantom Knight and a Raid Raptor. You can attach a material, special summon for your extra deck, 1 Phantom Knight or Raid Raptor Xyz monster. That's 1 rank higher or lower than it, and then transfer all materials, and that card can't be destroyed by card effects until the next end, but destroy it until the next end phase. And it's treated as an Xyz summon, and it transfers materials to that card. The card we're going to be ranking up into is going to be Arc Rebellion XYZ Dragon. This Xyz summon card can't be destroyed by card effects, so we override that Raider's Knight effect immediately, so this is never going to be destroyed by that card effect, unless its effect is negated, of course. You can attach 1 material from this card. This card gains attack equal to the total original attack of all other monsters on the field. Then if this card is a Dark Xyz monster as material, negate the effects of all other face-up monsters on the field. After this effect resolves, you can't declare attacks with other monsters for the rest of the turn. You can only activate it once per turn. So very good synergy with Droplet. Droplet halves their attacks, but this cares about original attack. So it makes it even easier to kill them. So if your opponent sets up the whole board and you can get to this monster, and by dropleting, you do just kind of win the game if they don't have any relevant pieces of background, but that's what all of our graveyard effects are supposed to be for. We do have 2 Phantom Knights of Break Sword. Once per turn, you can attach a material from this card, target a card you control and a card your opponent controls, destroy them, and if this card is destroyed, you can target 2 Phantom Knights in your grave with the same level, special summon them, and then make their levels 4, and you can't special. This is the only lock in the deck. This locks you into darks. So you have to do this after your Leviaires, after Utopic Draco Future. You have to do this afterwards. But this is the card that lets us set up Dark Rebellion on our first turn, as well as make Raider's Knight on our opponent's turn, or rather our second turn if we're going second, because it is a piece of interaction, and this is the card that we are going to be bringing back off of Requiem Dragon if we do bring something back to Link Zone, because it is a Phantom Knights card, and it's a Dark Xyz, and Rusty doesn't require them to be Xyz summoned, just special summoned. Last 2 cards in the deck is going to be the things we're going to be using to make the Utopic Draco Future. Double Leviaire. We want to recycle our resources as much as possible, maintain such an advantage loop, so our opponents can't possibly really expect us to not be able to do anything if they manage to disassemble our turn 1 board, just by putting our stuff back in grave and letting us access them as material on board during the turn that we activate it. And if we do manage to keep a Leviaire around, we can do it again. This card is incredible. I would maybe say if you're running more of a Link focus, run 1, but you can't really run 0 in this deck, I don't think. I think the fact that you can recycle your Phantom Knights, especially if you're only running 1 cloak, is essential. And that's going to be the deck profile. So that's 15 in the extra, 43 in the main. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you continue to stay here, if you do me a huge favor to subscribe and like and leave a comment about what Phantom Knight is your favorite. I personally like the gloves, because what's he doing with those gloves though? And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.